Why WWE Babyfaces Suck. This is a video which many of you guys have requested me to do. I put out a Twitter question and poll asking, what do you guys want to see me talk about? And many of you wanted me to talk about why WWE Babyfaces Suck. Now, this is a video which Plana Productions has done, but this is nothing really to do with his video. It's just my personal take on the topic. I haven't even watched his video. So, personally, when I think of WWE Babyfaces, I think, like, the babyface heel dynamic is such an interesting one, and when it's pulled off well, like, for example, with Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns, in the build-up to Survivor Series, when it's pulled off well, it can be simply phenomenal. But I look at pro wrestling, primarily WWE, but most companies have this same issue, and I see how babyfaces are booked. I see people who are just not directionless, but they lack real, compellingness. It's not really a word, but they lack a real spark that makes you, really need to see what they're going to do. Like, for example, at the moment with WWE, who are the main acts that you want to see? Who are the people who, on WWE TV, that you feel you need to see their segments? For me, Roman Reigns is the main one, Alexa Bliss, The Fiend Bray Wyatt, and Jey Uso. Those are the four people who I need to see what they're involved in. And what do they all have in common? They're all heels. So, yeah. The thing with babyfaces is that you need to try and do something to try and compel the fans in a way that isn't forced. It's not over the top to a point where fans get turned off, but at the same time, it's organic and it doesn't feel corporately created, which it's a bit of a tough conundrum, which is why in the past 5 to 10 years, outside of a very select few such as Drew McIntyre and, really, that's just about it. Dean Ambrose to an extent, but really outside of those two, basically every babyface WWE pushes either gets rejected. Fans say, this is forced, this is corporately created, cough, Roman Reigns, this isn't good, this sucks, WWE don't do a good job of booking it, so fans are just and you and me are well, I don't care to see this, this is over the top, this is forced, I don't care. So that's what usually happens with WWE babyfaces, and why is that? Because, as I said, WWE go into a program, go into a storyline saying, we want to get this guy over, we're going to get him over as a babyface at all costs. But WWE don't seem to have either the creative desire or the creative ability to do it in a compelling, captivating way. For example, you see babyfaces nowadays, and the only real thing they're fighting for is respect. The amount of times WWE have done a personal storyline in which babyface A says to heel B, I want to be respected. I'm sick and tired of not being respected. I'm going to earn respect from you. And it's if you want to get over fighting for respect, there needs to be a bit more than that. If the babyface is fighting for real deep personal motivation and personal gratification because of really traumatic and troublesome events in their past, then there's something to work with there. Then there's a character arc. They're fighting the heel to try and prove themselves to themselves and the fans, and it becomes a real good babyface hero's journey narrative. But I look at most of the cases nowadays, and babyfaces are they're just people who, they're on your TV and you're oh yeah, is what it is. Not really a reason to care. Even I look at Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre is the top dog babyface in WWE. When I think babyfaces in WWE and pro wrestling, I think of Drew McIntyre. When I was thinking, I was raised the question to my graphics guy, Aiden's Wrestling. I was thinking to myself, who should I have as the face of babyfaces in pro wrestling? And I thought Drew McIntyre. But even Drew, I look at Drew as someone who, when he's fighting Roman Reigns, when he's fighting Randy Orton He's a real good, compelling babyface, particularly against Roman Reigns. Against Roman Reigns, the babyface heel dynamic was done perfectly. We had an arrogant, brash heel who could back up everything he was doing against a Drew McIntyre who was credible, legitimate, wasn't just some underdog fighting against the odds babyface, but a babyface who you could believe, but at the same time was still a bit of an underdog compared to the heel. So there was that. But when I look at Drew McIntyre, just generally, Drew's someone who, I personally like the guy, but almost objectively speaking, when Drew McIntyre is in a promo segment, when Drew McIntyre is in, or shoots an angle, when Drew McIntyre has a match on like Monday Night Raw, by and large, that doesn't captivate and compel. That's not a babyface who, if you're not watching WWE, you're desperately tuning into the WWE YouTube channel to see what Drew McIntyre did this week on Raw, which is something that just babyfaces in general lack nowadays. Babyfaces don't do cool, compelling stuff. The only people who do cool, compelling stuff nowadays, as I mentioned, are Roman Reigns, Alexa Bliss, The Fiend, and Jey Uso. Those are really the only people who do anything that you want to go out of your way to see. And I think to myself, how could that be changed? How could WWE fix this problem? How could WWE make babyfaces go from these kind of bland people who they're fighting for, by and large, respect. They're fighting for, I don't know, like that's literally about it. Babyfaces fight for respect, and because they're great athletes who love the fans, they want to put on a great match. That's basically what babyfaces are. Because outside of a select few babyfaces, I can think of Sasha Banks in the past few months. Definitely Sasha. McIntyre when he's against Roman Reigns, and a bit of the Orton stuff, but at the same time, most of the Orton stuff dragged on. It wasn't even that great. So that, I guess, if you want to say Jeff Hardy during the Sheamus thing, I'll give you that. That wasn't the greatest, but it was something. Even Kevin Owens in the feud against Seth Rollins, I think Owens did some really good stuff. There were babyface promos that have you compelled. Edge, that was good. So those are babyfaces who really kind of compelled you. And I think another thing with babyfaces is that people nowadays in pro wrestling, I don't know whether it's just the writing or the wrestlers themselves or a combination of both, but babyfaces particularly just don't cut compelling promos anymore. Whether they're not being allowed to, the storylines aren't there for them to cut the compelling promos. Because I feel like most of these wrestlers are capable enough to cut really good, compelling promos that make you as fans interested to see them. Like, for example, I mentioned before, Edge in the feud with Randy Orton, Kevin Owens in the feud with Seth Rollins, even Sasha Banks in the feud with Bayley. Cutting promos that made you think, damn, I want to see that person beat up the heel. But by and large, we don't get that. By and large, we get babyfaces who either can't talk, don't really get the chance to talk. When they talk, you're like, who really cares? And then that's about it. You're not really invested in the program, you're not invested in what they're doing, and as a result, you just don't really care. You're either watching that program for the heel, or you don't really care at all. Which is what's happened so much in WWE the past, like a bunch of years. Because WWE, they can't book babyfaces. Babyfaces in WWE, as you can see by the title of this video, suck. And outside of a select few babyfaces, Drew McIntyre when he's feuding with Roman Reigns, Edge, he's like a master at it, but Edge is from another era. Edge isn't like a babyface nowadays. Edge is a babyface and like a wrestling star from the past, so I'm hesitant to count Edge. Sasha Banks, I'd say, in the feud with Bayley, she was a good babyface. Yeah, I mean, you could say the New Day, but yeah, I guess New Day, I don't know. Then you're starting to stretch it because these people don't really compel like, McIntyre or Edge do, so yeah, that's basically, well, it's not McIntyre, just Edge really. So yeah, that's basically been the video. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Leave down below what you think of WWE babyfaces. Personally, I think what WWE should do to try and fix babyfaces, for one, the storylines. Have storylines in which the heel is really either tormenting the babyface, the heel just destroys the babyface, and the babyface has to really, push and overcome the heel. Have heels be a bit more like menacing and a bit more confrontational. Babyfaces have to really stand up to that and fend for themselves and galvanize an audience behind that. Do that kind of stuff. That way fans, you and me, are going to be more interested to see these babyfaces, as opposed to, oh well, the heel wants a fight. Oh, the babyface wrestles every match. No debate. This is the other thing. I hate the babyface fighting champion thing. The fighting champion thing's dumb. Look, just because you're a babyface doesn't mean anytime anyone challenges you, you have to take the match, or else you're not a noble fighting champion. It makes these people look ridiculous. Just like you get challenged if you're a babyface champion. A good, reasonable babyface would go, I don't need this. But at the same time, that's treated as a heel characteristic. Stuff like this in pro wrestling, dude, I don't get these like little things. So yeah, that's been the video. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed. Babyfaces need to be done better. Characters need to be better. The promo work needs to be better. Storylines need to be better. How you book everything, just all around needs to be better. So yeah, that's been the video. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed. If you have, like, comment, subscribe, and drill. See ya.